My friends and my family, this is Trevor Chapman, modern day man, entrepreneur, achiever, purveyor of the good life, student of life, marketer. After over 10 years in business, tens of millions of dollars, I've learned this one thing. There's too much noise. It takes tactics and strategy. You can't buy it, you earn it through experience. Failure after failure hones the craft. You must become a warrior. It's time to run. The experience you can't buy. You had to have earned it. It's my turn to give back and contribute. I share all of my lessons from 7 to 8 and from 8 to 9 figures. We'll see if it goes from 9 to 10, but I'm gonna give it all to you. Consistency, persistence, dedication, vision, time, discipline, work. I'm gonna give it all to you so that you learn from where I failed and you learn from my experience. My brothers, this is your daily fuel.
What's up, everybody? This is Trevor. I'm excited and I'm happy to be here with you today. I'm looking out my window at almost a full moon. It's so bright that it is illuminating the canyon behind my house, and I love it. I love it when the full moon comes and it brings so much light. It's different than daylight. It's almost like this supernatural power. I feel like I'm bathing in some sort of lunar blessing when I see this kind of light. Anyway, that has nothing to do with what I want to chat with you about today, but it does remind me of a quote that I was told by an amazing person that's a personal mentor in my life. About 5 years ago now, I met a guy named Tuvi Kestenboom. He is a Israeli hero. He was commander of Unit 669. That's a Special Forces unit. That's actually the rescue arm of the Special Forces. So when the elite Israeli Defense Force, when their Special Forces get into trouble and they need to be rescued, they send in Unit 669, of which Tuvi was the commander for many, many years. He went through all kinds of secret ops and public ops. We became like family, traveling all over the U.S., working together on a business that we had started with another individual. I became to know him really well, and I respected him incredibly. One of the things that I noticed was that he spoke very little, but said a lot. Literally, when we would go to the airport to fly to go to a business meeting or whatever, the people around me thought that I had hired this guy as a bodyguard and that he could snap their necks in half. Not in an aggressive manner, but there was a confidence that he put out that I have never seen matched by anybody. And one day we had met with someone who was saying that they wanted access to our software and they were going to do this and that and all the other, and it was highly convincing. We had just met with many of the oil executives in the Midwest at this conference up in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which, by the way, in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, there are more billionaires per capita than anywhere else in the world. We were the only two guys not in a Rolls Royce at these meetings. And there were dozens of them. And this one guy that wasn't one of these executives, by the way, these executives, because most of these are public energy companies or public mining companies, their salaries are public. These guys are making $8 to $15 million a year. A year. Not including their bonuses, which were larger, as executives of these rare earth materials. Anyway, that's not part of the story. I was just fascinated by it. The part of the story was that this guy was really convincing to me. That was just going on and on and on. And when we jumped in the car and were driving away, I said, Tuvi, what do you think? Because Tuvi didn't really talk too much during these meetings. And he looked at me and he thought for a second, and then he said, empty cans make the most noise. And there was silence, because that's all he needed to say. And we probably sat for 4 or 5 minutes after that, not in an awkward silence, but in a contemplative moment where I really took in what he had to say. Empty cans make the most noise. This goes on with every Instagram quote that you'll ever find, which is let your actions make the noise, not your mouth and all that stuff. But I have found it in my life to be so true that if someone feels like they have something to prove, it's because they haven't been there yet, done that, bought the t-shirt. They haven't made it. And so because they lack the evidence, they attempt to make up for the lack of evidence in persuasion. And so since that moment, I have attempted to lead my life in a similar manner. I'm pretty passionate and enthusiastic by nature, and so I do just go on and on and on. But I attempt to convey, I attempt to ask very little and convince very little, and instead just offer as much as I can. And I recognize that sometimes my personality gets in the way, and that's fine. It's not going to be for everybody, but I've utilized this in my life, not so much for my interaction with people, but with people's interaction with me. When for instance, I had to find a couple patent attorneys recently, and as I spoke throughout Salt Lake County, I listened to them, and ultimately I made the decision who I was basing this all on that phrase, that empty cans make the most noise, and it's turned out to be incredibly effective. Hey, think for a second. Who have you recently dealt with that you ended up being disappointed in the relationship, business relationship, because they had told you all these amazing things that they were going to do, all these amazing things that they had done, and then they just didn't deliver? I'm writing an article right now for Forbes, as Forbes inducted me into their agency council or advertising council, whatever it is. And in there, you can contribute, right? So my contribution this first month is going to be about what to look for when you're working with somebody on their strategy. And one of the key things is to find people that you kind of have to strong arm into doing it for you because they're doing it for themselves. Those aren't the ones that are running around screaming at you, trying to convince you that you need their service. It's the exact opposite. You're trying to convince them to work with you. See, the people you want to work with are the ones that are so successful, that know it so well, that they're doing it for themselves. Hence why I've always been very conservative when it comes to business, quote, consultants. If they know so much, then why aren't they doing it for themselves? Now, this is different for a company like Bain or Deloitte or something where they are doing it for themselves. And a branch of their business is to help you. But I'm talking about other stuff. You know, there was recently a post on Facebook in one of the groups, ClickFunnels or something like that, and it was like, hey, what should I pay a guy to do Facebook ads or whatever? And I made a comment, and some people agreed, some people disagreed, and that's fine. In my experience, I wrote, the people who actually know how to do Facebook ads are doing it for themselves. Why would they do it for anyone else for like $500 a month or $1,000 a month? If they can do Facebook ads for themselves and make $500,000 or $1 million a month and ultimately have a significantly larger profit. See, and those are the people that aren't running around telling you how amazing they are at Facebook ads, trying to convince you of anything because the evidence stands up by itself. So the next time you walk into some sort of negotiation or you are introduced to somebody and you have an opportunity to talk to yourself about yourself, remember that empty cans make the most noise. That analogy is if you throw a can on the ground or drag it across the ground. If it's full, it's not going to make very much noise. There won't be the echo. There won't be the bounce. There won't be the acoustics, right? But an empty can makes a lot of noise. Please, if you're still an empty can, start filling it by not making the noise. Instead of running around and trying to convince people of how good you are, just be good. And let your results prove it. In the end, nothing matters. No one's going to respect you based on your potential. No one's going to give you their time of day based on your potential. No one's going to give you the contract that you want based on your potential. None of that's going to happen. And if it does, it was a lucky chance, so take it and realize that the next time it won't be so lucky. Instead, everything that you get will be because of your results. And results speak for what? Results speak for themselves. All my love, all my respect. Until tomorrow, my friends, Trevor out.